I am the founder and CEO of National Christian Financial Advisors, which is an independent registered investment advisory firm. That's big. That means we are fiduciaries, and we have to put your best interests ahead of our own and ahead of your employer, ahead of any institution, including the brokerage, custodian, or plan keeper at your employer. We always have to put your best interests ahead of our own. That's the big difference between a registered representative or a broker. They have to do what's suitable for you, but they don't have to always put what's in your best interests ahead of you. As a fiduciary, it's the highest standard for financial advisors, and we are required by law to put your best interest first. So I'm the founder and CEO of National Christian Financial Advisors, which is an investment advisory firm. We do not offer any proprietary products at all. We don't do anything from a commission base. How we earn a living is when you do better, we do better. And we manage people's assets on a fee. And we do quite a bit of managed assets for individuals at their employer, where you have your 401k, 403b, or 457 plan, even at the state, most, if not all, the hospitals in the metro Atlanta area and around the country. And you have a 401k there, a 403b there, or a 457 plan there. And more often than not, according to recent studies, more than half of people do not have an idea of what they're investing in or how to invest their dollars, which is okay because you're there to do a different job. You're not there to be the investment person. And we're able to work with most of those employer plans that's around the metro Atlanta area throughout the country, where we will come in as the independent investment advisor and assist you with your retirement plan. And the great news about it is there's no upfront or out-of-pocket cost to you at all for the services. It's within your plan. It's normally a part of the plan. And your plan allows you to work with whoever you want. And then the asset management fees that all of the fund managers earn, and that's been negotiated in many cases by the employer, by the plan, or the custodian to be on the plan or through the plan, those managers get an asset management fee whether you work with an advisor or not. And meanwhile, you do it on your own and do it yourself. So they said, you know what, that's not good. Individuals need advice. And so who's gonna give them advice? So we're boots on the ground. We'll go out there and sit with an individual as a local advisor, and then we'll assist you with your goals, objectives, and your retirement plan in itself, including things outside of their employer plan. And then we're gonna put together a comprehensive plan for you so that you can achieve your goals. And then those money managers who's getting an asset management fee, they say, guess what? We're gonna give you half of our fee. So it's a win-win. They get to achieve what they want to achieve to make sure that things invested properly. The employer knows that you're happier because you're achieving your goals. That means you're gonna work better, you're gonna be a happier employee, you're gonna produce more, and then you're going to know exactly when and where you're gonna retire and how much you're gonna retire with. And then you have someone monitoring it, you have someone advising you, you have someone bringing a whole team of professionals to you that you normally would not have access to because they're more than not institutional money managers. Now they're available too. And so we're doing that. If anybody is going to be watching, you want to watch at Clayton County Library System on YouTube, and you can look that up and find. We're going to jump right into it. Before we start, do you have any questions up yet? Any specific concerns you may have? It may not be a part of this presentation. If you mention to me now, I'll touch on it with presentation or afterwards. Anybody have any specific thoughts or questions you may have on time coming into the meeting? No. So everybody's gonna retire today. Is that what's coming? We don't have to do the meeting. So they're gonna retire today? Okay, I figured something of the nature. So let's get on the same page on really what is retirement. Retirement is really just saying, you know what, I'm leaving my job. I'm not going to work any longer, and you're going out to say, do what you want to do, whether it can be consultant, whether it could be just sitting on the beach, you can travel, whether it's taking care of grandchildren, whether it's just starting a new profession like arts and crafts and being a hobby that you always wanted to do. But you're going to leave your job, and you're going to cease working and earning a paycheck, as it were. I was fortunate enough to retire at the end of 2008. And most people say, geez, you look so young. How can you touch about age? Rule number one, it does not take age to retire. It takes money to retire. And so if you are 40, 50, 55, 72, 25, if you have a number that you know you can live on for 30 plus years, or even longer if you start earlier, you can retire. So I was fortunate enough to retire in 2008, and I stayed in retirement for about 4.5, 5 years. And I was asked to come back into ministry to do some of this from an institutional standpoint, and I decided to do it from an individual standpoint because I have worked with institutions for many, many years, installing retirement plans, and/or managing them and work with participants. And how many remember the financial crisis? Financial crises? 30 million people lost their home. And they saw their 401k become a 101k, and even less than that. And many had to pull their dollars out of retirement plan to just stay afloat with expenses, with mortgages, and so forth. And so now I'm faced with helping so many while I was in retirement. And the town I was living at that time was a small town, and the city didn't have the resources for that. And so I really started donating my services to the city, to the community, to the unions, and so forth, even doing some things abroad. And it was great. But at the same time, I said, you have 30 million people that are impacted by this. Wall Street got tarred. They got a bailout. Main Street did not get a bailout. And if professionals like myself and big Wall Street firms needed a bailout, our firm did not get a bailout. But if you have the greatest minds in the room, and if you have all the experts needing help, what did the politicians think about regular mom and dad on Main Street? They needed help. They needed big time help. And so when it was an opportunity for me to decide to work with institutions or go right to the participants, my personal morals and conscience said to me, let's go to the participants, the individuals, and help them become financially strong and solid again. And then once we have that going over a protracted period of time, I'll start doing more things with institutions, and I've done just that. From a background standpoint, I've been doing this most, if not all my life, about 31 plus years professionally. I started actually being exposed when I was in junior high school, and then by a junior in high school, I started doing junior internships, and throughout college, doing internships, and then ultimately came on board with a major financial Wall Street firm in New York, and began to do it then. And ultimately, I went out into the field to start teaching and working with individuals like this, as well as institutions. I have a master's degree in financial services. I'm also one of the few individuals that's a certified treasury professional. Very few have that designation around. So let's get into it. There's 4 major questions that we have learned over this 30 plus years and some that many retirees are going to ask. They're going to ask, do I have enough money to retire? It does not take age, it takes money. Am I on track to retire? How much do I need? Can I retire early? You absolutely can retire early, no question about it. It was early. Where did we get the idea? Someone help me out. Where did we get the idea that it had to be 65 years old? How did we come up with that idea? Anybody know? Society, the system, Social Security, that's correct. And so I may look young, and I still think I'm young, but I've seen a lot, and my parents used to have a pension. Some of us here in the meeting may remember pensions. Remember the old pensions? It's not really around anymore. That's when the employer was on the hook to absolutely make sure Angela retires with a good amount of income after 25 years of working for them, get a watch, and then go on out. You remember those pensions, right? Well, during the 80s, former President Ronald Reagan said, we're going to break this up. And it really moved away from pension plans when the employer was on the hook to make sure you can have a standard living with this pension and have it for the rest of your life. They moved to the 401k, to the 403b, the 457. And I'm going to focus on 401k because that's really what they focused on at that time. And it shifted the burden from the employer to the employee. And that's when people really have not been able to retire the way they want to and say, I'm going to work for this employer, I'm out and do whatever I want. Many people are working 30 years, 35 years. They're still working. They're going back to Walmart and work. They're going all over to work. And many to this day still cannot retire because when you have to do it on your own and you don't know what you're doing, you were there to be a nurse. You were there to be a doctor. You were there to be an attorney. You were there to be an environmental specialist. You weren't there to be an investment advisor. And so no tools was given to you to assist you. And then, by the way, you're working 9 to 5. When are you going to have time to look at your investments? That's more than a 9 to 5 hour. That's like a 17-hour day. And so it's impossible. But yet now you have to do this along with your job and family and marriage and so forth and kids, soccer and all that stuff. Who's helping you out? So there's no reason why we don't know why people want to retire and successfully if they want to. But yes, it takes money. That's what we want to focus on big. 75% is the industry standard. So in some of these presentations, we have to comply with rules and regulations and compliance. And I'm going to do a little audible throughout it. But to stay in compliance, the rules and the industry standards say 75% income is what you need to have to retire comfortably. But let me ask you this, if you're earning $50,000 now, and it's tough for you now, and the rules say you have 75% of 50,000, so you've gone 40 years tough, and you're gonna live in retirement for another 30 years? That doesn't sound like a good deal to me. That sounds a good deal to anybody? That sounds good to you? What about you? I didn't think so. I want to make sure I'm in the right room. And so you have technically 4 pots of money to pull from to retire. And I'm going to do a subcategory of these savings. So you have your wages, you have savings, Social Security, and pension. As I mentioned at the onset, most people rely on pensions, but they're gone. They're really not there. Then you have Social Security, and you always hear all the time, it's not going to be enough dollars there. The younger group, they probably won't have it. Older individuals, you'll have something. But truth be told, they should have broken that thing apart, ripped it up, threw it out, and moved monies into the market a long time ago and allowed every individual to control their own security versus letting Congress and Congress people and senators control it because they're using it as an IOU and it's depleting. So we don't want them to do it. You want to be in full control over your entire destiny when it comes to money. That's something to hear constantly. So you have wages. Savings is going to make up another category that I'm going to introduce that's not on the screen. A 401k or 457 or 403b, depending on where you work. And that's just a tax code for those who aren't familiar with it. 401k is for corporations, 403bs are for not-for-profits, hospitals, and universities, and 457 are for states. The new tax laws over the last few years have pretty much made them all equal in terms of what you can contribute and what you can pull out and how you pull it out. They're pretty much consistent across the board. Any questions on there? 84% of workers expect Social Security to meet your needs. 84%. Then you have 88% actually having Social Security to meet their needs. 84% expect to meet needs. 88% are actually receiving it to meet their needs. And most of the older population is making up that 88%. Then you have 82% of workers expect a workplace retirement. We mentioned no more pension, do it yourself. 82% surveys around the country from employees expect their workplace retirement savings to be an income source for them. Yet half do not even know how to invest it. That sounds like trouble to me. 54% of current retirees report workplace retirement savings as their actual retirement income now. 82% expected, 54 actually are receiving it that way right now. Still a big gap. And then half of that number that we just mentioned, they don't even have a clue where to put it. So what's normally in the marketplace? It's boots on the ground. You have individuals in what's called a stable value fund because they're risk adverse. They're afraid the market's going up or down, and especially in the last few weeks, today itself, last week, since the third day of the new year, the market's been doing nothing but going down. and particularly in the African American community, we're very risk adverse. And we're saying, no way, we're not putting our money in the market. We want the government to give us some backstop with our retirement plan, and yet the government is not going to be able to do it. Social Security is not going to be able to do it. So what are we going to do? We have to no longer rely on Social Security, no longer rely on the government, no longer rely on an employer. They're going to give you a match, sometimes 4%, sometimes 6%, which is great, but you have to contribute to get that max. You'd be surprised how many people we bump into that will not contribute more than 2% in their retirement plan, and they have to contribute maybe 3% to start getting the match. So they're never getting the max, but 6% to get the full 6%, and they only go to 3%. So you're leaving free money on the table by you not putting your 4 or 6% in your retirement plan, and then you'll wonder how your colleague over here decides to come in one day and say, I'm retiring. Well, you both have the same title. You know how much he or she makes, and you're wondering how did he or she get out? And you did it. They put the full 6% in or 4% in, got it 100% maxed by the employer, which means that's free money. Well, I can't really get a raise last year. That's okay. But if you put your money in a retirement plan, you got free money and you got a 4% max or 6% max. That sounds like good news to me. And now that you can invest it properly based on your risk tolerance and goals, and that money can grow substantially, whoo, bang, you're feeling real good. And it doesn't have to just be for the rich and ultra rich anymore. With technology and persons like myself, we can bring it to the mainstream and help everyone achieve that. Okay. What role will your retirement savings play? Now, I kind of got ahead of myself, but it's going to play a major role. It's going to make up well over 50% of your retirement income. More like 75 of that 75 should be your retirement income. It's not more. Let's look at your age. I'm just going to go to 50 based on the audience and based on the age demographics I was given. So 50, if you're 50, you're going to need today 5 times your salary saved right now. By show of hands, how many of us have that? If you are going to be 55, 7 times your salary right now. 60, 9 times your salary. Save right now to achieve that 75% to live comfortable. Now let's put it all together. Making 60,000 now, and if things are not going the way you want, it's expected 75% of that 60 going into retirement. And you're going to need at least 9 times your current salary in your savings account of some sort right now. Healthcare, as we've seen with the pandemic, from a health scenario, and retirees, and third, debt, college student debt. Those are the 3 major crises that's on the horizon ahead. And I would put college student loans up at the top because we've already seen the pandemic hit. So the student loans is right there. And then we're going to move into a serious retiree problem. And for the reason you've seen here. This is normally an intuitive little skill and lever, if you will. I can't move it because of the smart board. It's a what if. You can adjust it as you like when we're sitting with you at home or in our office or at your job. We can move it and say, guess what? I want more wages. I don't like that 75% I can't. I want to live good in retirement. I don't want to be basically barely making it. I've done that for 30, 40 years. When I retire, I want to live comfortable. Well, then we move this. We say, how much more money you want? Social Security, I'm going to share with you and show you with the numbers. Every year that you delay Social Security, you're going to add close to 7-8% on top of the dollars. And I'll share with you in a second about that. And you can move household plan. What does that mean? You may plan to retire sooner or later. You may plan to retire in a different state. You may plan to retire and live with your children. It changes for everyone. So he said, not me. I'm not doing it. That's not my plan. And sometimes by default, that becomes a plan. keep it real, but we don't want that to be anybody playing underneath my watch. None of my clients have had that plan. Here's Social Security. This assumes a household of $75,000 to $120,000. Every year that you do not take it, it will increase by 7 to 8% more than what it currently is. And so at 62, back in 2020, if you will, you're going to see here, if you take it at 62, $11,280 is what you're receiving. If you go to age 70, you're going to receive $21,588. That's a big difference, isn't it? That's a big difference. Here's a challenge. When you're at 62, we've been taught to go to 65. Some people decide to come out at 62 because they know they can start taking Social Security. And look how much money you're leaving on the table for the government. So they will incentivize you to take it earlier so that they can take care of this underfunding problem that they have, because you're going to help them with the difference, leaving it in the pot for the government. But I can't wait till 70. I've worked too long. I didn't say keep working until my retirement. Leave the work, use those other pots of income that you saved, and then delay taking Social Security to age 70. If you delay it, that's a huge difference. Huge difference. You have options when you work. You can address your expenses on a cash distribution side, work it in retirement. You can leave your current plan with your employer. 99.9% of the time, I never recommend that, to leave with your employer. Someone said, whoa, excellent question. I almost never recommend you leave your retirement plan at your employer. I'm talking Harriet Tubman style, get off the plantation, leave, and take your money with you, and never come back. Why, Hakeem? I got another head shake. Why would I do that? Your employer in the 401k, 403b, 457 plan, remember, they're not doing what's in your best interest. Every year, within 1 to 3, they're evaluating this plan over and over to see how they can reduce their expenses, because that's an expense to your employer. So they're trying to deliver to you a bare bones something to satisfy ERISA and satisfy the Department of Labor, and then leaving it up to you to do all of the investment itself. And they may give you a match, if you will. That's discretionary, and no one actually is monitoring it in your 401k, 403b, but you, unless you work with someone like us. And imagine, so and then it's restricted. They only have 6 funds, 10 funds here: stable, growth, international, a bond fund. I'm not getting the options I need to achieve my goals. That's what they decide. In order for me to get my money out, I need HR to say I can get my money out. No one's experienced that. Try to take a loan out of their money. You need a loan or a financial hardship. Your HR manager has to sign off on that. Why would I want to be in retirement going back to my employer that really didn't have my best interest? I was just there to do a job and get compensated for it. I have to drive that home. We have to really get that. You're there to do a job for them. They're trying to pay you for doing that job. They're not trying to pay you to get rich and retire. They need you to keep working and keep getting the salary so you can keep helping them get rich. And you follow me? So that's their objective. You have to do what's in your best interest and figure out how to maximize this within your plan. And so you only get an actual option to pull your money out with some exceptions. Financial hardship, a loan that you have to pay back while you're working, interest somewhat nets out. In all fairness, it can net out. It almost nets out to zero. You pay a little bit back. It still earns in there if you do it right. Most people don't, and so the interest they pay becomes true interest. But if you leave it allocated, invested beyond the stable value or beyond the money market, it still can grow and still net a positive gain. But you are paying yourself back, so that's good. And then terminate it, leave, or they terminate you. Those are the only ways you can get money out your plan while you work. But when you retire or leave, that's the other exception. No penalties, no early withdrawal penalties. If you roll it over, that's this one here, rollover option. I'm going to touch on the middle one in a second. Roll it over to an individual retirement account, an IRA, where you are in full control over it. You get to invest it however you may want to invest it. In addition to that, there's IRAs for self-directed IRAs, where you may say, you know what, I really wanted to be in real estate when I retired, but I really didn't know much about it, but I've been studying on it, and I didn't have the dollars. Now I do. You can take your rollover IRA and invest that into real estate or other stuff. It continues to go tax deferred, and now you're moving into other ventures off your retirement plan, which is normally an individual's largest asset right behind their heart. Well, Hakeem, what about the middle option? You left your employer and you went to another employer. 100% of the time, I don't recommend that. So we have almost 100% of the time, we're not going to recommend leaving your employer for the reason I mentioned. Why am I not going to roll over to the next employer that I go to? Because they're going to have the same restrictions that they have to follow. So you just got the opportunity to control your destiny completely, and then you're going to relinquish it when you go to your new employer and let them control your destiny. That doesn't sound good to me. So I would not roll over to the only way I'm going to roll over. Only way. Say you're going to work for Amazon or Microsoft or Google or Facebook, and they have an enormous rich plan over there, and you want the benefits of that huge compounding, well, maybe I'm going to do that. But most of all, Tesla or something like that, one of these major institutions that have one of these real rich, robust type plans, they're giving their employees a ton of money. Maybe I'm going to do that. Maybe. 9 to 10, I probably will not, because you're going to get a nice salary there anyway. And as of current, you only can put $19,500 in per year. So if you're getting a nice salary already, let's just dump all your salary in there. And then the bonus, we're going to do the rest. Make sense? Here's that 4% of your reference to. 75% of your income replaced in retirement. Pull at least 4% of your retirement dollars in the buckets that you're going to have. And I'm going to show a sample of that in a second. So let's say you have $500,000. Remember the other chart where it went to 50, you need 5 times, 55, you need 7 times, 60, you need 9 times. That's the pot of buck I'm talking about with salary. You have that saved or something in between there. And now you're going to start pulling out 4% every year after, increase it by 3% for inflation. Now, up until last year, most people, unless you're born before, from 1970 and earlier, most people aren't even familiar with inflation. They have not even lived through inflationary times. So they see a little inflation now, they think it's the worst thing ever. But I remember when inflation was running 18+%. A mortgage back, you can get, your mortgage can be up to 20-some%, 18-some%, what's your interest rate on a house. Anybody remember that? Especially in Georgia, because it was the president that came out of Georgia, Carter, that helped with that inflationary time period, that actually inflationary time period went bananas during his administration, one term president, a little bit of Reagan's administration, and then Mr. Volcker broke the back of inflation and got it back down. But inflation used to run 17, 18%. Now they're crying over a little 4%. Why? Because no one thinks inflation. The president and people should be doing something different. Stop talking about inflation and transitory. How many people know what that word transitory means? I got a couple chuckles. You know what I mean? No. That word, you know what I mean? How about you? You know? But he talks about it all the time. All these allegiance, talk about transitory. No, here's what inflation means. How many have gone to fill up their gas tank today or yesterday? And it costs a whole lot more. Oh, we got a couple people. What about chicken? I know I like some chicken, fried chicken. That girl back there shook her head. She said, yes, indeed. How many folk like some chicken? And when you go to the store, how much chicken costs now?
Too much.
Too much, we heard. Whew. Listen, I'm sorry. I eat bacon still too, and I eat a little bacon, contrary probably. They said, they Muslim. What's the first name? No, I'm not Muslim. But I eat a little bacon. Have you gone and priced out bacon lately? Talk to me. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Milk. At one point, you couldn't even get milk. You didn't even have it on the shelves. I went to butter, bread. I went for bread in multiple stores. I couldn't even find bread. I went to 3, 4 different stores. Couldn't even find. Then when I found it, you didn't want to get it because you knew the shelf life at home was going to be maybe 2 days because you told it was beginning to mold, and then we'll charge more. See, that's how we should be talking about inflation. Because that's regular meet-the-road people, and regular meet-the-road people, water. I couldn't get water. Y'all got all the water over there. I couldn't go get all the water. That's what the water is. I look for water, you can't even get it. The library in Clayton County had all the water, y'all. I'm telling you right now, but the library in Clayton County, all the water right over there. Because I can't find it in the store. And that's what's causing inflation. That's what causing short. It's right there. I mean, a whole, doing the camera right over there. There's a ton of water over there. Holy cow. I'm gonna get a sip on that one right there. That's where all the water is. They ain't got all the water. Dog it. Any of it. So you get this water. It's costly. You can't even get it. So that's how you should be talking to folks voting you in and out. What am I gonna do to help you with your brain, your eggs? Oh my goodness. Food. Those kind of things. What am I gonna do to relieve you from that? And that's how you should be talking. 4% going out. You take $500,000, 20,000 withdrawn. Remember, Social Security 62, 11,000, and 70, 21, 21 plus 20, that's 41. If you're struggling at 45 now, why would I want to be retired for the next 30 years of my life with $40,000? I came up with my options. You gotta invest it. You gotta put it in a place where it grows substantially. At bare minimum 70%. Better than that, you want to be 15% because it's going to double every 4 years. Oh, it's too risky. Financial crisis came, people's houses dropped drastically, markets tanked. 2 years later, we hadn't seen the market drop since until this past few weeks. It always comes back. We have to, as a people, get out of the risk adverse because that's how the rich get richer and the middle class and the poor stay poor. They scare us with these terms of risk and dropping. That's systematic oppression. It's institutionalized oppression to keep a people down. That's what it is. And so people said more 4% withdrawal. Every year you had 3% more for inflation. 26, 21, 28. That's still not enough. It's not enough now with 45,000. And you're going to tell me because of science, we're going to live 30 plus years in retirement after 62, after 70, and Jesus, no way. He came to give life and give it more abundantly. That doesn't sound like the abundant life to me. So we got to get to the abundant life. What are your options when it's time to pull this out? That's right, she's gonna get some of that water that they gotta put here, all this, some of that water. She said, I'm taking my part. Can't buy any Kroger in Publix. So you're gonna pull out the options if you decided to use the multiple different accounts to achieve your retirement goals and objectives. You're gonna have multiple accounts. You're gonna have a taxable account, you have a tax deferred account, that's your 450, 457, 457. You have a tax-free account, that could be your Roth. That could be tax-free municipal bonds. So now that you have your money, that $500,000 in various accounts, you've achieved your income goals and objectives because everyone that works with us gets a free financial plan. Everyone. That's powerful because if you're not here or if you're not some of the employees work with, that's going to cost you $1,250. We're going to give it to you for free. That's our gift. for you being here tonight. You're going to get that free comprehensive plan. That's my gift to you. So that plan is going to show you how to get to that $500,000 or whatever your number is. You've achieved it. And now you have to start pulling it out. Well, which account do I take it from now, King? I was with clients last night. They're, oh geez, 48, 49 respectively. Started working with them in 2018, sharing similar things, very successful couples. And I was sharing how to achieve their goals, help them with the financial plan. And they were tight at that time. Terms of, I can't believe it. They were saying, we can't add 500 at all to this thing. I said, well, we'll start with 25, we'll start with 50, we'll start whatever we're going to start with. Start. Start as a start until you start. And so we started. Things got better for them. Got raises, got promotions. Met last night for our annual review. Hakeem, our mortgage will be paid off in 3 years. Thank you. House worth over $675,000. They only have 158 left, paid off in 3 years. Hakeem, this account over here, we didn't lose no money during said crisis or whatever. Thank God for that. We have this. What are we going to do? Hakeem, this other account, what are we going to do? Hakeem, guess how much we can put into this account now? An extra $1,000. Guess how much we're doing over there? $1,000. Just 4+ years ago, it was not possible. But they started. Now, not only their goal was not 62, was not 65. The wife said to the husband previously, and reiterated it last night, once the house is paid off, I'm ready to retire. We got enough. House will be paid off in 3.5 years. That's going to put them roughly 52 for 3. Not bad. Then they have all the possibilities. So you want to pull from taxable accounts first. Then you want to pull from your tax deferred accounts, that's your 401k, 403, 437 plan. And then you want to pull from your tax-free accounts. And here's the reason why. This particular account, the middle, the government is going to say at 70.5, it took the half world recently, you have to take out the required minimum distribution. And that really, 401k plan was really made for the ultra rich. That's why you gotta keep that in mind. So imagine if you were a big person with big dollars that could put $19,500 in every year for 30 years, and you was investing and earning it 15%, you're gonna have a huge amount of money in it. And so they never will receive taxes. And so they're saying at 70.5, the government finally gets taxes and they require you to pull it out as core required minimum distribution. You take the minimal amount. So you want that to stay here up to 70.5. So that continues to grow tax deferred, pay no taxes on it. Your tax-free accounts are never going to pay taxes on it because it's tax-free. And meanwhile, these particular accounts can go another 25, 30 years growing, no taxes, accumulating, and now you're going to really flip this thing and where you may not have enough or you was barely getting into retirement. If you're doing this way, you flipped it, and now, ooh, you hit the good life now. You hit the good life. You're really enjoying it, and that's what you want to do here. What about healthcare? 5 things would be mindful: running out of money, healthcare costs, inability to maintain standard living, inability to meet monthly expenses, and health issues. 51%, 20, 25, 25, and 24%. Major concerns. We have a sickness type of system. They don't want you to get healed and whole. They want to treat sicknesses. And so the healthcare, as I mentioned to you, is a major problem in our society. And that's it. Medicare Part A and B, here's the things that it covers. So was that something there? Medicare Part A and B, inpatient hospital costs, surgeries, doctor visits, labs, tests, wheelchairs. Medicare Part A and B, you're going to be good with that. But what it's not going to cover, you just saw them in Congress before the end of the year, they try to get dental and eye. That's a basic thing, especially when you move into older age. Your teeth, your eyes. You think that would be an easy thing for our politicians to get past? But they couldn't even pass that. They are so inept down there in DC. In your Medicare A and B that you waited all the time to get, not even gonna cover hearing aids. That's why you see the commercials with them advertising those hearing aids, because it's not covered. And then you got most vision, dental, personal service, our people as a whole. We don't pull out people in nursing homes. We typically don't. Someone said that, my house, they're gone. We know we don't put out people in nursing homes. We normally take care of mom and dad. We let them sometimes move in with us. So it didn't impact us as much, but the kids, our kids, maybe some of your kids, they're not thinking like that. They're not saying they're gonna come back and take care of mom and mom's gonna move in with them. So we have to figure out how we're gonna take care of parents and grandparents, you. Medicare A and B is not gonna cover that. Assisted living is not gonna cover that. It's not gonna cover Medicare. And neither is like any home aid that you got to come in. So what do people do? Can they get a Medicare supplemental plan? And right around October through the end of the year, you see a lot of commercials on that, those infomercials from Humana and so forth. Any questions? We're just about done. 75% of your expenses for healthcare is going to fixed premiums. Variable out-of-pocket cost is part of that as well. Here's your vision as we wrap up. 74% of pre-retirees have made a serious effort to plan for financial aspects moving to retirement. 35% of pre-retirees have made a serious effort to plan for emotional, because there's two parts to retirement. There's two parts to financial well-being. I spend most of the time on the dollars. But now you've been getting up for the past 25, 30 years. That clock goes off. You ready to start getting dressed? Whether you wanted to or not, you've been disciplined in doing it, and you're going off to work, like it or not. You have a family there, so to speak, your work family. Some you love, I can't wait to get out here. Some you enjoy going to lunch with. Some you enjoy having a good time with. You get to chat and talk, keep up with different things. And now retirement day comes, for the first few weeks or months, it's like, oh my goodness, that alarm clock. I'm talking from experience, and that's from clientele. When I retired, the gym one day long, I would watch grass grow. I would go to the gym 3 times a day. Watch grass grow, go to the bus, get the kids, checking the watch to see when they're coming home, cooking, cleaning, all this kind of stuff. And after a while, that gets boring. And so you're gonna have to have a transition of life. So you have to think about travel, hobbies, interests. It's never to go back to law school. Whatever you want to do, pick up an interest, knit, crochet, fill that with something. That's an emotional piece. Believe it or not, it's very emotional. There's so many people that finally get to retirement day, and they didn't factor in the emotional side. You've seen it. They've taken that horrible pension instead of rolling the money over, and they say, I'm gonna leave something for the spouse, so I'm taking a pension. Now you reduce your payout by 50%, and then 3-4 years later, they pass away. You've heard that. They didn't even live and enjoy retirement. I know you know people like that. That's the other biggest robbery in the system. They force you into this pension check. You take it, it won't even go up. If you need more dollars like we do the last 2 years, it's fixed for life, and you're covering the spouse, which you should do, and now you pass away, he or she gets another half of that, and they're gonna live on, oh, that's bad. What do? You roll it over and put it into your own IRA, and you start taking that 4% out on your own, and more likely than not, you had a life insurance policy early on. That's what you leave for the spouse. You leave them the life insurance policy for that, and take all of your money versus half of your money. Well, let's make it plainer. I gave you what I just did. Anybody heard about lotto winners? If they take all the money out, they almost get half, right? If they take the check out, they're going to get that a little longer, because you're helping them to finance the rest of the people. So pull your money out and you finance. Don't let your employer come to me and do it for you. You come to us and we do it for you. You keep all of your money. And should you pass away, they don't get half. Your loved ones get the remaining balance for you. That's a better deal to me versus half. Much better deal. So that's what you want to consider. Create clarity, establish a framework, work with a qualified professional to achieve your goals like myself or someone you feel comfortable with, but you just want to work with a qualified professional. Vanguard did a study that when you work for a qualified professional, you can enhance your return by 3% more than what you're currently doing. So you want to work with a professional. And if it's within your employer plan, $150 an hour if you're not your employer to sit with me. $1,250 to do a plan. With your employer, there's no cost for that. So if you're at Coke, if you're at Delta, if you're at Norfolk Grumman, if you have children in Piedmont, Grady, you can work others, a state, Clinton County, I believe so too, 9 times out of 10, whatever employee you're with, you can work with me. That 150 goes away. That 1,250 goes away. And we're going to work for your plan, and we're going to deliver you a qualified plan to help get to your specific goals. 5, retirement question to ask yourself. Who, what, where, when, why? Who's going into retirement with you? He jumped up quick. Everybody's not going with me, he said. So who's going to retirement with you? What retirement looks like? Where? You staying here? You're going back to your family's home? Where that may be, relocate to another state where taxes are lower, warmer. When? This is critical. When? Start as you start until you start. You cannot have a finish line if you don't have a start. So start and then put a goal. I'm not a retirement cop. So if you set the goal of have $500,000 within the next 5 years, and we put that plan together for you, bringing all of the resources that I have on Wall Street to you that most people never get access to, we're going to bring all that to you to help you achieve your goals. And 5 years out, you have $475,000. I'm not going to give you a retirement ticket and say you missed it by $25,000. You're going to be happy, but the other side can happen. Maybe you're going to have $750,000. That's even better. So dream. Here's another thing I get from people. How much, I want you to think about this as well. How much do you want to have going into retirement? Do you have a number? Think about that. You have a number, sir? Nope. You got to think about that. No one has a number. That's what I mean by the win. If we don't have the when and the why, we're not going to get there. You put the best archer in front of me right now that was winning the most prizes for hitting the bullseye. He's going to beat me all the time. Blindfold him, spin him around. Now make him shoot. I'll beat him because I can see the goal. He can't see the goal. So we got to have that goal, that number. Disney World in Florida is a destination spot, 95, coming from the Northeast. Going here, what, 85 to 75. You know what exit you're getting off. You know how much time it's going to take. That's what we think about, that dollar amount. There's only 3 things you're going to hear from me when you work with me. You need an extra couple of years. We have to put a little more money. Or you're going to hear me say you need both. But you're never going to hear from me ever that you can't do it. It's my job to get you to it and bring all the resources that Wall Street has to help you. So you have to have the who, what, when, where, and why. The why is important. That's the emotional side, because now that you've achieved it, all the bills are paid, home is paid off, kids are good, you enjoy it. But the why. Why did you do it? Why did you work this hard? There's a why. That keeps you sustained, that keeps you going. It's your future. A couple of important information here. That's me. You can schedule a time to visit with myself. We're waiving all consultation fees, and we're not going to charge the planning fee. I want to thank Ms. Kimberly for inviting us here to do this. Hopefully you learned something. Did you learn anything? You did? Excellent. I'm glad it's been helpful to you. We're going to be doing many of these in the weeks and months to come. And we're gonna also have some financial literacy for the youth. And we're gonna do both youth, parents, indoor, pre-retirement. So you're gonna have 3 types of workshops going forth in Clayton and in various other libraries around the state. Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? Any questions? No questions?
Yes, actually.
I was gonna say, I'm good, but I'm not that good. Any questions?
Earlier you mentioned, putting your money into an IRA. Why an IRA versus a Roth IRA?
Excellent question. When I was making reference to your employer plan, rolling it over, you roll that over into an individual retirement account, not a Roth. There was a time period when you was able to do that when they first rolled the Roth out, and that allowed you to pay over tax up front, put it in there, and then never pay tax again. That option is no longer, and you don't want to do that, so you got to roll over into the tax equivalent, so that you don't pay the 50% penalties or 20% penalties, and that's where you roll it over. Excellent question.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you take your money out, are you being taxed on this money?
Excellent question. Take it out by way of, I left my job, take it out, or take it out because I'm taking a 4%
Well,
withdrawal.
okay, I know if you're taking it out and when you do your job, it's going to be taxed, right?
No,
It's going to be taxed.
not at all. Excellent question, and that's why I was dropping that home the way I was, by saying never leave it there. I wanted to have real shock value, because there's misinformation and disinformation out there, and many of us aren't aware that you are not going to be penalized for rolling it over. If you take the check and they send it to you, made payable to you, you're going to be penalized. If you receive the check and made it payable to the institution for your benefit that's going into an IRA, no penalties for that.
Okay, so we have to take our retirement and put it into an IRA.
That's
so it's not to be taxed.
That's correct.
And then how long does it have to stay in there before you can take some of it out? Is that determined based on what?
Excellent question. Ties into why I said never leave it at your employer. Your employer governs when you can pull it out, financial hardship, a loan, leave employment. That's because they follow rules and regulations. When you roll over to your IRA, you're in full control. So if you're 55 and retired, you're not going to have a tax problem. If you're 59, drop the half, and you're not retired, you don't have an early withdrawal penalty either. So that's the first thing those are the first 2 thresholds you want to get over. 55 and retired, or 59, and doesn't matter what you're doing. If you get past those 2 ages, then you're not going to have any early withdrawal penalties at all. The only thing you're going to be dealing with is taxes, because the money's been growing all those years, pre-tax, no tax at all, and you can't avoid that at all. Does that answer your question? Then I want to get it clear. What part?
Okay, so the part about, okay, so we're rolling it over into the IRA. And so when you get the 65 or 90, then there's still tax. I guess I'm just trying to get clarification on tax, taxing the money.
Excellent. Because it's going to retirement plan, 401k, 450, 457, that's coming out your paycheck, pre-tax, no taxes at all are taking out. Then when you pull money out, normally for living at 4% of net revenue, when you withdraw it out to get your retirement income, that's when you're paying the taxes that you had not paid over the years. You see? Now, if you take it out before then, 55 or 59, 20% penalty, bam. That's the IRS penalty. So you want to get past the age, and you want to get past retirement for 55 or 59 wage. Did that get you that? Did that get it? You have a question? You have a question? You have a question, Daniel? Ms. Kimberly, a question? You, sir?
You didn't mention anything about life insurance.
I did it. What made you ask that?
A lot of people, including myself, will be on a job, and our main support of life insurance was through our employer. And when we leave a job, you don't have anything.
That's correct. Excellent.
So as you go into retirement, I'm thinking about life insurance, term versus whole life.
Excellent question. And I ask you specifically because everyone may not want to ask a question. And there's so many people that mix up life insurance, what you should have, especially the talking heads on TV. Some people say they never buy insurance. Some people say never buy new. Some people say, oh, I only buy term. You know, that kind of stuff like that. It's personal. Customization is what you're looking for. And so if your employer is your only life insurance plan, the earlier you can get a plan outside of the employer, especially if the employer is not going to allow you to roll it over and keep up the premiums yourself at the same premium dollars, then you want to get your plan in place as soon as possible because life insurance is based on age and health. So in the case of yourself, you may reference to, you would want to put something in place sooner than later for age purposes and health purposes, since you know that your employer is not going to allow that. And then you want to say, hey, there's a cutoff time period when you're going to have the AFLACs and the combines and all that stuff. You should be managing that. After you normally get past 45 to 50, you move away from some of those plans and you move more into the life insurance plans for the reason you just mentioned, and you cut off those other ones and you move heavily into that. So yes, you want to have a good life insurance policy to make sure that you can be buried and buried the way you want, but not just for burial. Life insurance is the last remaining tax shelter, legal tax shelter in the United States of America. Every penny that's in that life insurance policy can come out income tax free. The death benefit goes to your loved ones, income tax free. This is how other groups leave big money to their families and create most of the buzzword these days, generational wealth. That's been a buzzword for a lot of people. That's the cheapest way and the most efficient way to have generational wealth, a life insurance proceed from life insurance. Did that answer your question, sir? Yes. And that's an excellent question. And life insurance is not your parents and grandparents' life insurance. There's different type out there now. The term is like renting. You don't have any ownership, but it's good for many things. The whole life is like buying your first home. You was happy with that first home. Man, you did everything you do to get that first home. And after about 2 years in there, it's too small, you know that. And you got no closet space, you didn't even have a garage probably, you know, it's the first home, but you was thankful. Then you start realizing, man, I knew something more. You get another home, 2-car garage. That's gonna be a universal life insurance because it's gonna get some accumulation in there and it's gonna accumulate really, really well. Then there's a variable universal life insurance. This is the best of the best. You're getting all the benefits of term. You're getting all the benefits of this growth. The growth options are going to mirror your 401k with all the sub accounts you have in your 401k that you've been investing your money in that. She should have said, huh? Yes. So the same way you've been investing your money in your 401k, you can do that in this life insurance policy and let it grow tax deferred, pull it out income tax free. Death benefit goes income tax free. That's huge, but I can't. Why did Mr. Ray say don't do it? Why did courthouse don't do it? They're talking to old ones. They're talking to commission-based products. That's why I said at the beginning, we don't do commission-based products. The commission-based products is going to eat all of that premium up that you're paying. So they got to pay that agent the commission. So the agent's going to get a big fat commission. So if your premium was $10,000, he or she is getting 100% of that in commission. So that's why it doesn't accumulate into 7, 8, 9, 10 years later, because they got to recoup what they paid the agent. But if you get the fee-based life insurance, where you do better, we do better, and it's invested, it's liquid, there's no surrender charges, there's no deferred charges, there's no nothing, it's totally liquid, and your money starts accumulating virtually from day one. That's the plan you want. Did you have a question before we close out? That's it? Well, I want to thank you all for attending, appreciate you, and now you have a great evening. I have some cards here. If you want a paper card is here. If you want a digital card, just let me know. I'll bring up my phone, you can get a digital one. Information on the flyer as well. Just let us know how you want. Everyone should have signed in. Everybody signed in? I certainly will reach out to individuals if that's okay, to see if you have any personal questions and need assistance as such. You're more than welcome. You're more